The scramble to come up with the next round of stimulus. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. Thanks for joining us. Well, there are now 16 million COVID cases worldwide, with a quarter of those here in the United States. Add to that, the country has seen death tolls topping 1,000 for each of the past 5 days.
That's right. It's a trend moving in the wrong direction as Americans wait for help from Congress. CBN News national security correspondent Eric Phillips joins us with more. Eric?
Well, John and Jenna, part of the urgency on Capitol Hill deals with that $600 weekly bonus and uninsurance payments and unemployment insurance payments, I should say, that are set to expire on this Friday. Lawmakers are divided right down party lines on what to do next. Problem is, they don't have much time for lengthy debate.
As COVID cases skyrocket, so does the temperature and blood pressure on Capitol Hill. With millions on the verge of losing that weekly unemployment benefit, Democrats and Republicans are running out of time on a path forward. Republicans proposing that laid-off workers get up to 70% of former wages rather than the $600 payment.
It just wouldn't be fair to use taxpayer dollars to pay more people to sit home than they would get working and get a job.
What they're saying to essential workers, you have to go to work because you're essential. We place no responsibility on your employer to make that workplace safe. And if you don't go to work because you're afraid of being sick and you have that job opportunity, you don't get unemployment insurance. This is so unfair.
While the debate rages on, so does the virus itself. Word today that a member of Trump's inner circle has tested positive, National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien. His symptoms are reportedly mild and he's self-isolating. Many hard-hit states need more medical help, and FEMA now putting out the call for professionals to go to Arizona, Louisiana, Texas, California, and Florida. The Sunshine State now claiming the second highest number of cases nationwide. And just the last week, 6,000 children under the age of 17 years old testing positive, like 8-year-old Zane.
He's in a lot of pain. He's super nauseous. He was throwing up for days, but now it's the pain. You never want to see your kids so incoherent that they can barely talk to you, ever, or see them that sick.
9-year-old Kamara Lynham, the youngest in the state to die from the virus.
She was resilient and strong, and she could put a smile on your face just by looking at her.
The work to develop a vaccine roaring forward with deliberate haste. Moderna's phase 3 trials underway now across 30 states and Washington, D.C. Some 30,000 volunteers lining up for a shot to help the fight.
I think it's very important that a person steps up and tries to do something good for the world at this point.
And many volunteers like him hoping that developing this vaccine will be the answer to defeating the coronavirus. Meanwhile, testing is becoming more and more of a problem in several places. In fact, 15 states are reporting problems with their processes, such that it's taking some folks up to 19 days to get back their test results. John and Jenna.
And with us now, Lori Johnson, CBN News medical reporter. Lori, today drug maker Moderna begins the largest trial to date with 30,000 volunteers. What do we know about the trial and its prospects, Lori?
Well, Jenna, I remember when I first started covering COVID-19, one of the first interviews I did in February was with a very well-known infectious disease doctor, and already he was being very enthusiastic about this Moderna vaccine. This vaccine, the Moderna NIH vaccine, these two companies worked in cooperation, agencies, I should say, since day one. And this is the vaccine that most people in the know have really been having their hopes pinned on. We know that this particular vaccine was made in record time, really. Chinese scientists provided the genetic code for COVID-19. So this is actually, they've given the genetic code, the genetic sequence of the virus, and then within 60 days, the first person took the vaccine. And so now we're talking about 30,000 people in about 80 different cities across the United States, starting in Savannah, And so we're talking about 30,000 volunteers, people who are like, yeah, I'll try it. And half of them are going to get the vaccine and the others are going to get a placebo, and the people are not going to know which one they have. Then they're told to go about their regular lives, and scientists are going to watch them for about 8 weeks or so and see who gets the does it protect against the COVID-19 virus? And also, is it safe? We know now up until this point that it has been something that produces the antibodies and that it has been safe. The only side effects we know about so far, brief fever, chills, and pain at the injection site. It's very important to note that the people who are testing this are going to be from different, they're multi-ethnic, so, African Americans, Hispanics, and so forth. Also different ages, young, middle-aged, and older people.
Lori, what do we know about the other vaccines? We know AstraZeneca has the Oxford vaccine that it's working on, Pfizer and others. Where do they stand?
They're right next in line, John, and so this is very exciting because we're talking about, like you said, AstraZeneca, Johnson & Johnson, Pfizer, Novavax, and then, of course, there are a lot of other ones, but those are the leading contenders. And so then next month, we're going to probably see another 30,000 people in another 80 different locations in the United States doing the exact same thing with these other leading contenders. So we should know within the next couple, 3-4 months, how these trials did. And at that time, there will be the determination they're good to go. Go ahead and start in vaccinating the entire country. So it usually takes about 6 months to make enough vaccines to inoculate the entire country. So right now, some of these leading contenders, they're already making millions of doses. So when we get the green light, that they will be ready to be injected into people who need it the most. We're talking about people in nursing homes, people who work at nursing homes and work in hospitals, and some of the other higher risk areas.
Lori, what if we get a vaccine and then people say they don't want to do it? They don't want to be one of the first people to get this vaccine, a guinea pig, if you will. What does that do to the effectiveness of the vaccine?
Well, first of all, it's important to note this is the United States of America. No one's going to make you get a vaccine if you don't want. I actually get a lot of questions from people who are afraid, saying, I don't want the vaccine. Is somebody going to make me get it? The answer is no. If you are a nursing home resident, if you work in a nursing home, perhaps schools, things like that, they may require the vaccine, but you don't have to go to those schools. You don't have to have those jobs. The government, however, is not going to force people to get a vaccine. And yes, Jenna, early surveys show that at least 1 in 5 Americans already say they will refuse it. So this is a sort of a public relations campaign. I interviewed the director of the National Institutes of Health, Francis Collins, who's also an outspoken Christian, who said, we're going to be very transparent about the scientific results, the efficacy and the safety of these vaccines, and we're going to tell the American public the truth and hopefully change some minds, according to him.
All right, CBN News medical reporter Lori Johnson, it's always good to see you. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Well, many Americans facing economic uncertainty are hoping for answers today as Republican lawmakers roll out their newest COVID-19 aid package.
Dan Celia with financial issues as Stewardship Ministries joins us now for more on what this could mean for the economy. Dan, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining us today. Let's go ahead and start there. What could this mean, this new aid package, mean for the economy?
Well, we don't really know we don't have a lot of meat on the bone, but it looks like it's going to be kind of more of the same. The rub is probably going to be in the continued unemployment benefits from the federal government. As you know, it was $600 a month. And what the Republicans are proposing is that it would be 70% of the person's last income, as opposed to a $600 flat rate. The Democrats don't like that. They say they're not going to accept it because obviously it would mean a lesser amount for some people, but they're trying to find a happy medium with that. One of the things and all of that, by the way, Jenna, all of that is going to be stimulus to the economy. It's got to help somewhat, and they've got to incentivize corporate America to want to open up again and start rehiring. And that's the piece that we're a little unclear on. I was hoping for a tax holiday, a payroll tax holiday till December. The administration and others then said maybe we'll cut payroll taxes. I wasn't necessarily for that. I'd rather see the holiday. That would be a stimulus both for the worker and for the employer.
Dan, you mentioned that boost, the $600 boost. With that ending, what kind of impact will that have? You know, people have talked about how that has helped people make rent. It's also helped with consumer spending. So what are we going to see with the fallout there?
Well, there's definitely going to be some impact there, John. I mean, obviously, not only did it help those families with spending and issues, in some cases, they were actually making a little bit more than they were making working. And if they take that away, I think that's, unless for the people that can't go right back to work, it's going to be a problem. For the economy in general, obviously, they're going to be missing out on that spending, that retail spending.
All right, Dan Celia with Financial Issues. We have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us. Great insights.
Thank you, Jen and John. Glad to be here.
To the Middle East, where the Israel Defense Forces is reporting what it calls a security incident on its northern border. It's asking all residents in the area to stay indoors, and many roads in the area have been closed. The IDF has been warning for days of a possible escalation with Hezbollah on its border after one of its leaders was killed in an Israeli airstrike inside Syria. In a rare move, the U.S. chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Mark Milley, visited Israel to meet with Israeli leaders, reportedly to discuss the ongoing crisis with Iran and its proxy, Hezbollah.
Portland is now in its 8th week of protests that have evolved into violent clashes with police, with weekend riots also in Texas, Colorado, and Washington state. George Thomas has more.
Early this morning, hundreds of demonstrators continued to stage protests outside the federal courthouse in Portland, Oregon. Police deploying tear gas and flashbangs to keep protesters off federal property as violent confrontations between activists and law enforcement entered its 8th week. In one park not too far from the protests, they discovered a bag full of loaded rifle magazines and Molotov cocktails.
Have us actually get somewhere with all these protests. You know, people are trying to go for systemic change.
Early Sunday, thousands took to the streets of Portland and more than half a dozen other cities across the country. Protests often turning from peaceful to chaotic, even fatal. On Saturday, a driver arrested after he allegedly shot and killed a man after driving through a protest in Austin, Texas. Video captured at the scene shows dozens of people running for cover as multiple gunshots ring out.
Initial reports indicate the victim may have been carrying a rifle and approached suspect vehicle. Suspect was in the vehicle and shot at the victim.
In Aurora, Colorado, one person is shot and another injured as a person plows his Jeep into a crowd demonstrating against police brutality. In Seattle, hours after protesters set fire to a youth detention center, police and demonstrators clash on the streets, authorities there declaring a riot. In Oakland, California, the Alameda County Superior Courthouse set on fire Saturday evening by protesters. And in Richmond, Virginia, police using chemical agents after a crowd attacks officers with rocks, batteries, and other objects. All this coming as the White House threatens to send more federal agents to cities across the country, gripped by weeks of violent protests. George Thomas, CBN News.
Thanks, George. Coming up, the politics of the day. Joe Biden snubs a major cable network, and who you won't see paying respects at the U.S. Capitol to Congressman John Lewis. CBN's chief political analyst David Brody is on deck.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep as the world watches from the outside.
It's a big diplomatic tug-of-war here in the Middle East.
Go inside the story with Jerusalem Dateline.
Israeli archaeologists are talking about a discovery that could change the thinking about the Temple Mount.
Join CBN Jerusalem Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell and get the biblical perspective on the events shaping the world.
What starts in Israel then ends up going to other places.
Watch Jerusalem Dateline, Friday night at 9:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. Here now to help us dive a little deeper into the day's headlines is David Brody, CBN's chief political analyst. David, the president making headlines saying he will not go visit John Lewis, the civil rights activist and congressman who's laying in state right now. What do you make of this?
Jenna, these are the politics and the times that we live in today. It's unfortunate. I don't think anybody can sit there and say, you know, why in the world? No one can sit there and defend the president necessarily. Having said that, let's do some revisionist, or not revisionist. Let's rewind history for a moment. You know, John Lewis did call the president. He said he was not a legitimate president. There is a history between the two, and you know what? Donald Trump remembers. And is it really the thing to do now? No. But this is what we have, and this is the politics we're in today.
David, to the campaign 2020, the campaign of White House rival Joe Biden told Fox News that he is, quote, not available for an interview. This, of course, is after President Trump appeared with Fox's Chris Wallace, in which Trump claimed that Biden couldn't withstand similar tough questions. David, does the Biden campaign have more to lose or gain by going on Fox?
Oh, lose. That's why he's staying in the basement and making sure everything is nice and neat. And I don't know if he vacuums every day, but the basement is looking great. The problem is that at some point Joe Biden has to come out of the basement. And by the way, I'm not saying that in jest, come out of the basement. He's really in the basement. I mean, this is true. I mean, sometimes he brings it up to the living room and we see the beautiful Delaware flowers behind him. But otherwise, he's not doing anything, John. So it makes you wonder about the debates coming up. What in the world is that going to look like? And we've already heard rumblings that the Biden campaign, the Democrats, want to get out of these debates, or at least they're putting conditions on the debates. And, you know, we'll see. There's Joe Biden. Look, this is not a partisan thing to say, but Joe Biden does not want to get on that stage with Donald Trump. You may think he does, or in other words, Democrats may think he does, but he doesn't.
David, a new NBC News Marist poll shows President Trump trailing Biden in the key swing state of North Carolina. It also shows Trump might have a down ballot effect on battleground Senate races. Can you talk more about this?
Well, sure. There are a couple things to remember. Let's start with this. There was an election in, 2016. That's right. And Hillary Clinton was beating Donald Trump in Pennsylvania, in Wisconsin, by 4 points, by 8 points. Another state, battleground state, by 7 points. And what was the problem with those polls? Why were they off? Because they oversampled, they overweighted college-educated folks in this country. Guess what? Nothing has changed. If you talk to the pollsters this time around, they're doing the same thing. They're oversampling college-educated folks. So if Donald Trump's base shows up, folks that are not as college-educated as the Hillary Clinton/Joe Biden camp, then you may have, once again, another surprise in 2020. We'll see. Plus, let's remember, Joe Biden gaffe machine, so we have got to wait for that. And what about the potential October surprise coming? Look, we've had so many surprises in 2020. The October surprise could be something to do with a potential vaccine. Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah. David, what about the long-awaited GOP coronavirus stimulus bill? How much support do you think it'll have among Senate Republicans, let alone the bipartisan support they'll need from Democrats?
Well, Jenna, can I invoke the term goofy? I mean, this is goofy of the Republicans to all of a sudden cut back on unemployment benefits for Americans. What in the world? I mean, do you want to give the Democrats a political layup at this point? I mean, you're already thought of as not being so compassionate. Then you want to cut their unemployment? Look, I understand the argument. The Trump campaign, or excuse me, the Trump administration Republicans say sometimes people are making more on unemployment with these benefits, $600 a week, than they might normally make in a whole year. So that's the argument. I don't know.
All right, David. Sorry, we are out of time. CBN's David Brody, thanks for being with us, and we'll be right back.
On October 1st, 1961, history was made when a tiny station began transmitting the first signals of the Christian Broadcasting Network.
CBN, the Christian Broadcasting Network.
And now, a new era has begun with the all-new CBN News Channel.
Just moments ago, the Iron Dome intercepted an incoming rocket right on the Gaza border.
And ministering in this area, spiritual warfare is definitely involved.
A 24/7 news network, bringing you the news you want from a source you can trust.
In Kenya, 40% of the medical services are actually provided by these Christian hospitals.
Let's talk about the economy.
Believers here are joining together to win people to Jesus Christ.
All your favorite shows now in one place. Go to cbnnewschannel.com to find out how to get the CBN News Channel on your TV all day, every day. CBN News. Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com.
Welcome back. The U.S. Supreme Court ruled against a Nevada church over in-person attendance, denying a petition that said a policy limiting attendance to 50 people during the pandemic goes against the Constitution. Joining us now, Ryan Tucker, Senior Counsel and Director of the Center for Christian Ministries, that is, at Alliance Defending Freedom. Ryan, welcome. First question, what was the church's argument? And the decision was a 5-4 ruling. Why do you think the court ruled the way it did?
Well, first, it was an emergency motion, so we were seeking extraordinary relief from the court. The case is still active, it's still alive, and we continue to litigate it. And so this court may once again get an opportunity to rule on it. But, as to the rationale, the majority did not disclose to us exactly why it was that they denied the motion. But there were 4 justices, as you noted, that wanted to take the case and wanted to rule in favor of this church.
So is this a temporary decision, and what happens next?
It really is. We are at the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, so the Federal Court of Appeals level. We continue to brief the case, and once that's done, our hope is that we would make it, once again, back up to the United States Supreme Court, so they'll have an opportunity again to look at the facts and to possibly issue a permanent decision on this.
So Chief Justice John Roberts, he sided with the court, the liberal side of the courts. What does this say, do you think, about Justice Roberts in this case and really just overall?
Well, we don't know right now. There was another case about a month and a half ago where there was a similar result. And so right now there's a large question there as to the rationale for that decision. Again, the 4 justices that did side with us explained their decision. So we'll have to wait and see. I believe that Justice Roberts and the entire court will have an opportunity to explain exactly what they think about the constitutional violations that are taking place in Nevada right now.
All right. Ryan Tucker of Alliance Defending Freedom, thank you very much. Have a great night.
You.
Life is better with a good night's sleep. Get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Watch Studio 5 Wednesday night at 9:30.
Remember for a moment what it was like to be a child. You believed every story you were told. You saw a world full of endless possibilities. What stories will the world's orphaned and at-risk children believe? We believe the Bible tells the only story truly worth believing. We believe that every child should have the opportunity to dream, the chance to take challenges and turn them into possibilities, the chance to stand on the promises of God, to recognize their place in the greatest story ever told. They have their whole lives ahead of them. Theirs is a world of endless possibilities. They are looking for a story to believe. We will tell them that story. Will you join us?
Finally tonight, former Congressman John Lewis has returned to Washington one last time to lie in state at the Capitol.
Gospel singer Wintley Phipps honored the civil rights icon today with his rendition of the classic hymn, It Is Well With My Soul, those words ever more resonant in these uncertain times.
Indeed, and a powerful reminder we wanted to leave you with tonight.